The Masons call God the great architect of the universe, and I've heard the G could stand for God. Some say God just stands for geometry of divinity. It's for measuring the compass is for measuring the material realm, and the compass is for measuring the heavens. So the whole thing is about measuring the architecture. Mach 33 thing strikes me as a Masonic contrivance, likely fake if space travel's fake and they're building it to suit their paradigm, or something else, but that's what I think. And also, by the way, Isaac Newton was an alchemist for 30 years. I was just looking into this. This might be worth noting. He was an alchemist.
Yeah, and well, and his story of, and I honestly don't remember much about him, but it's funny. Like people are very sensitive about Descartes and Newton and these people, and I just think that's very funny because, like, I definitely, when you start reading around that range of history, in that range, like teachers and professors, they get very sensitive to say that, and it just really stood out to me. Because the more you look into history of, especially around wars or science or some of these particular things, and you get to the justifications of them, right? Um, you definitely start to get that they've been given a very particular narrative that they need to get across to you. And if you start digging into alternative narratives, I guess you'd say, um, they get very sensitive to that. And like when I still to this day, when I point out that Descartes was, literally saying that he came up with these things in some sort of mystical state, people are like, well, what does that have to do with science? It's like, well, if this dude's getting visitations and that's how he invents basically the foundations of science, you don't think that's interesting? So I don't know. I mean, I don't know where to go with that, but
Well, it is interesting to talk about
it's just
this.
very curious.
Yeah, when did where did magic and alchemy ever fully separate? And I think it just went esoteric. And I think I'm not anti-science, and I think they want to brand people who don't believe the scientists as anti-science, but believing the scientists is a religious posture. You shouldn't believe the scientist. You should know what the facts are and know how you arrived at these conclusions. It's not a belief system. And I do think that a lot of people respond as though they're in a religion and they don't like non-believers, but that's again, it's kind of wrong to exclude skeptics from the conversation. And all we are here, I believe, are skeptics. But I am by no means anti-science, but I do recognize that a lot of the things that are proclaimed with the authority of science are actually belief systems. And you can't question these things. They're sacrosanct. And I would even argue that outer space itself is just a modern iteration of heaven. And it's a heaven that the atheists can believe in, like aliens, angels for the atheists. It's funny how atheists can mock the religious believers for all of their hyperstitions, yet they have their own.
Yeah, and I hate, and again, I hate to say this, but I think it's I try to look on the bright side of things, even when I probably shouldn't. But like I think that the fact that there are basically no atheists is kind of funny to me. Like it's kind of funny that these people think that like it, I've never met a person that tries to make people believe in God as much as people who try to convince you that there isn't one. And I think that that's an extremely fascinating situation because it's like and I think some Christians have this saying too, where it's like the people who just deny God outright are not as far away as the people who just say, well, yeah, there's a God, and whatever. It's
Well,
like,
look, okay, on this point, I agree that there's a bit of a hypocrisy here because the atheists today are de facto believers in modern God constructs, and they haven't separated from religiosity and religious thinking, and the media has become their church. So they're not separate. But I don't give the Christians any credit for being any better for believing in, quote, God, because their God is only a theory or a hypothetical. It's a model that they haven't tested and verified. So I think it's too premature. We don't have enough information, in my opinion, to have a complete view. I'm not a believer either way. I'm kind of agnostic. But I think that, again, yeah, the atheists today, who nonetheless believe the science, have adopted things that are just the same thing. Like the atheists are the ones who believe the most in both aliens and the global warming eschatology, which is essentially a doomsday. But anyway, it looks like the phone is kind of causing the sound to clip. So hey, appreciate the call, NeuroJack. Call back
Yeah,
anytime.
thank you. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you for the call. All right, everybody. That was NeuroJack. I'm going to shut off the phone for just a minute and see if the clipping stops. It started to get a little buffery. We'll give it just a moment here. Again, NeuroJack, thanks for the call. Covering a lot of ground. Interesting questions. Are we in a benevolent dictatorship? Are we being controlled because we're fickle and lawless and full of lawless passions that need to be ruled by a strong external force? Do we need to be terrified of gods or weapons of mass destruction or climate catastrophe in order to behave ourselves? And I'm not a misanthropist, but I'm also not an idealist. I'm not really naive about humanity. Like, I don't think that we are necessarily angels. So let's see. A couple things to talk about. Did you all hear about the penguins? The penguin in the helicopter? I came across this article. Someone tweeted it, texted it to me. It wasn't recent, but it was reported 2 days ago, the cause of it. So on January 19th, there was a helicopter crash in Africa. And it was caused by a penguin that wasn't properly caged. So apparently this penguin jumped on top of the dash and caused the helicopter to crash. Thankfully, nobody was hurt. Unsecured penguin causes helicopter crash in South Africa. This was reported 2 days ago. That was the cause. But again, it happened on 119. But I looked through it, and there's this quote here. The authority said, the lack of secure containment for the penguin was responsible for creating the dangerous situation. And I don't know, I'm taking this kind of like, I don't know. I mean, does this sound crazy to you? Unsecured penguin causes a helicopter to crash. The lack of a secure containment for the penguin was responsible for the dangerous situation. It kind of makes me think, or it almost sounds like they're suggesting that we may have created a dangerous situation for the PSYOP entertainment complex. That the lack of containment for the outsider mind virus super spreaders could be causing some kind of a, again, quote, dangerous situation. I find this story hard to believe, and I think it's about us, but I could be wrong. Now, here's a picture of the portrait that Trump put where Obama's portrait was. This is crazy. They took Obama's portrait down and put Trump's portrait there, but the portrait where it's a painting of him doing the fight, fight, fight after he was shot. So I'm like, that's fascinating. That's another connection between Trump and Obama. And if you read between the lines, like let's say you were a writer and you're making this a scene. Well, obviously there's got to be a meaning to it. This is a plot device. What is it saying? It's suggesting that you tried to get me and you missed. I think it's definitely that. And there's this dynamic between Trump and Obama that JL, Jurassic Liars, talks about quite a bit. And I've seen it in many movies we've talked about. I mean, this stuff is so almost redundant. I mean, Mickey 17 has a character based on Trump who's talking about colonizing a planet all white. And then he gets shot and the bullet grazes his face. And I'm like, this is Mark Ruffalo, of course, who played the Hulk, which ties into Captain America, where the character playing the president gets shot at while he's at a podium, and he becomes the Red Hulk, which again ties into the appearance of Hulk Hogan at the RNC after the Trump shooting. So we have these fascinating connections between these Trump parallels in movies. It goes pretty deep. But the Trump-Obama thing has been a consistent thing. I was talking about this yesterday with Megalopolis. The character representing Trump is Caesar. his assassination attempt was orchestrated by the mayor. The mayor is played by the same actor that is the antagonist of the president in Civil War. And this is a pattern that we have been noting and observing, and it debunks all of the synchro-mystic explanations for media coincidences. And this action here, Trump putting his fight, fight, fight portrait over the Obama portrait, just further underscores what we have been pointing out this entire time. And one other point here, Trump represents 1776, Obama represents 1619, and it's a conflict of visions that they are presenting us with. And this is very clear if you look at Leave the World Behind, an Obama production, which was all about 1619 and America's reckoning with that. Diana Southard says, that's a framed PSYOP trading card. Remember his mugshot. Hey, that's a good idea. You know what? That's great. We should do that. Ted Stryker says, IPS needs to make the news to raise more awareness. Well, that's why we have reporters. And it's about to... Look, now that we have certain tools available to us, the AI is... It's all accelerant. Infinite Plane Radio.
Hey, dude, are you talking about Trump right now?
Yeah, I'm showing on the screen the painting of Trump where he got shot over where the Obama portrait was, and how this is another connection between Trump and Obama. And I'm saying that Trump represents 1776, Make America Great Again, traditionalism, return to the past, pre-feminism, pre-civil rights, and Obama represents 1619 Project, which is progressivism and DEI. And this. So anyway, these two world stage characters have this dynamic that just go back so far, and it all started with Trump and the birth certificate thing. So you've been talking about this forever, pretty much. What do you think about this portrait thing?
Well, before I forget, we can go back to that, but I just heard you say something about Mark Ruffalo.
Oh, yeah, okay. Mark Ruffalo, who was born on 11/22, which is JFK's death day.
That's why I called.
Yep, he was.
I didn't hear you say that. I wanted to say that Mark Ruffalo was born on JFK's death date. Go ahead.
Yeah, see, this is the thing. I knew for a fact that Mickey 17 would have some stuff related to this before I haven't even watched it yet. I just knew it would have it because I saw the trailer. And sure enough, even the director has been called out. Hey, this Mark Ruffalo is playing Trump. And so I'm looking into it. I'm like, Mark Ruffalo's got to have some deeper connection. So you got
Ohio is the 17th state where I told you Ohio. That's where he's going to get his head wound.
Yeah, Ohio is the heart of it all, which has been a central... Ohio has been significant. And I mean, Butler, Pennsylvania, East Palestine, Ohio are 2 points that were really, I think, big plot twists for the world stage. But Mark Ruffalo was the Hulk, the Green Hulk, and he's an anti-Trump guy. So it's interesting that Trump is represented in Civil War as the president, played by Harrison Ford, who becomes the Red Hulk. So you've got this red and green thing also that's kind of been popping up, like Luigi, the shooter, who shot the CEO at the... You're the one who told me this, that the CEO who was shot by Luigi at the Hilton, that Hilton is the one that has 47 stories, and it's where Trump gave his acceptance speech for the second term.
That's right. That's right. And yeah, you're right on. That was a good catch with the painting. I didn't even know about it. So yeah, so he replaces it. He's letting people know that he's going to get his head wound on Obama's birthday because he takes Obama out of the, image there and he puts his head wound there.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah. Oh, you know why I called you? This is why I called. Listen, did you hear about the story? Well, first of all, let me ask you this. Who came up with the Mr. Satan? You know that I said that. I don't know where you came up with it. Did you hear it on my channel? Because I mentioned that years ago.
Okay, I think I got Mr. Satan when Musk sent Starman into space. And I'm like,
that's when I got it.
So
that's what I'm saying.
Okay,
Starman. I got it at the same time as you then.
Okay, well, so if people don't know this, just today, a 32-year-old named Sean Monper, who went by Mr. Satan, was just charged for threatening to kill Trump.
That's why I called. I didn't know if you knew the story or not. Yeah.
I just came
Can you?
across it. I can't believe this one. I thought you were going to have something to say about it because Mr. Satan is an anagram for Starman, which is how I came across it. And so this has got to be. And
And
then
he's from Butler, Pennsylvania.
he's from Butler, Pennsylvania. And of course, you can't. Okay, and Starman, you can't. And this guy wanted to kill Trump and Elon. And Elon sent Starman into space. And Starman
Exactly.
is David Bowie, but also David Bowie has Elvis's birthday and appropriated
That's
Elvis's
right.
iconography. So there's some deep connections here.
And speaking of Mark Ruffalo was on January 8th, Elvis's birthday. He was at the ceremony for that Willem Dafoe, who played Elvis as a vampire in Daybreakers. But he was at the Walk of Fame to get Willem Dafoe's star. Ruffalo was one of his people there. What was he hanging out with him for? I don't know.
That's interesting. So yeah, William Dafoe, his birthday is. You said his birthday's Elvis's birthday, or
No,
no?
Willem Dafoe.
Oh wait, he played Elvis in the movie that came out on
Right.
Elvis's birthday.
It was January 8th when he got his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Elvis's birthday.
Now this is intriguing. This is intriguing because William Dafoe has been like he's that savior named Elvis in the vampire movie, and recently he was in Nosferatu. He's the vampire.
Right, he played the Antichrist in one of the movies too. Yeah.
Hey, listen to this. A commenter says, Mr. Satan is a Dragon Ball Z character who takes credit for saving the world from the Monkey King Starman savior. I don't know what that means. I mean, but that is actually kind of
Yeah,
interesting. Dragon Ball Z, I haven't
don't know
seen
what
it, but that's a character that he's probably naming himself off of. But again, Mr. Satan is just like in the headlines right now.
Ask them if they have a character named Garo in that Dragon Ball Z. See, because I remember, I don't know why it sounds familiar. But anyway, man, I forgot what I was going to say now. Oh, about the star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Willem Dafoe, his birthday is the reverse date of June 11th. So that's another connection because his birthday is 7/22, Willem Dafoe, and 7/22's reverse birth date would be June 11th. But forget about that. But that one connects also, and that's why Willem Dafoe played Elvis in Daybreakers. But this year you had two people get back to back. Was John Carpenter and Billie Jean King got their stars on the Hollywood Walk of Fame within 4 or 5 days of each other this month, just this past month. Did you see it?
No, I haven't seen that yet.
Yeah, John Carpenter and Billie Jean King. Billie Jean King's born, at 11/22 birthday, the JFK thing, and she got it on 4/7, which is I think the 47. The connection to Trump with the 47. I think that's when she got the star.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, listen to this. Leo Friend says, Mad Mikkelsen was born on November 22nd, and he plays a character who was shot and killed in Death Stranding. And one more thing. In Leave the World Behind, which I was referencing earlier, it came out on November 22nd, and it takes place in the zip code that contains 1963. It's like...
JFK's death year.
Yeah. So this has been a reoccurring theme. But anyway, there's quite a lot here. The Mr. Satan thing, the poster, though, the painting here. To me, this is a big deal. Trump putting his portrait over. And have you noticed, and this has been pointed out by a few people in our chat here, that this painting, this whole scene, when he's surrounded by Secret Service agents, it looks like a beast with 7 heads.
That's a good one. No, I never even thought of that.
And one of the heads is wounded. Yes, it's very biblical.
Yeah, that's a good one. I never would even caught that. And I'm the one always talking about the B side of the sea reference. Yeah, I didn't even catch that one. Yeah. Man, I forgot. Oh, and this whole Gabby Giffords thing with the fight, and the 666 and him referencing that when he got his ear clipped. And I mean, it's so perfect because it was on Elvis's birthday when Gabby Giffords got her ear clipped, and she was in a coma. Obama visits her 4 days later, and she wakes up just like Trump. I told you he's going to get his head wound on August 4th. 4 days later, he comes out. Well, I'm pretty sure what they're going to say is on August 4th that he's pronounced dead, but somehow he makes this recovery, but he doesn't open his eyes probably till 4 days later on 8/8. Okay, so it's the same scenario you're having. That's why he referenced her, for that fight thing, because she came out of the coma,
And the Obama connection, which is right there because he's the one who resurrected her. Interestingly, in Megalopolis, the character that represents Trump, Caesar, and this movie is deep, but he gets shot at the behest of this Obama character. And it's an assassination attempt by a child, which might mean something, but he survives, but he's like unconscious for days, and he has to have this miraculous like recovery. And he invents something, and he heals himself. It's like, and then he unites the world. But the whole story is, yeah, he's basically dead for a little while, then he comes back. So you've talked about the connection before between insurrection and resurrection, and how these things are implicit in Trump's character. And I think you're right about that.
The word insurrection equals exactly resurrection. Same exact numbers in Gematria. Yeah, and Gabby Giffords, she was born in Arizona, and Arizona is the 48th state, which is the 84 backwards. The word Arizona equals 84. I mean, it's just way too much, And she was born on 6/8 in the year Elvis died. She was born on 6/8, and 6 times 8 equals 48. You see what I'm talking about?
Look, it's so consistent. It's like you said before, 84 days after he was shot, he goes back to Butler. We have examples of even the TV shows that were changed, like the Boys and Stranger Things too. Both of these had season finales 4/8, season 4, episode 8, and that 8th episode had a specific reference to the Trump head wound thing. In fact, Stranger Things season 4, episode 8 has the character Matthew Modine getting shot at the end. And the thing is, that whole shooting scene has a couple of references to Oswald. There's a couple of hints there, but then it even has a 6/11 reference. I've got a blog about this, but specifically, the actor is Matthew Modine, who plays Joker in Full Metal Jacket. And an analysis of Full Metal Jacket shows that Joker is JFK. So anyway, this is all, like you said, the stuff is deep, but it's consistent. It's predictable. You're the one who told me that Brady died on 8/4 after being shot by John Hinckley 33 years later. I mean, it's consistent.
Exactly. And he was shot in the head. That's what makes it important.
Yeah, exactly.
Hello?
Yeah, he was shot in the head.
That's what makes it so important, is that he died on 8/4 after being shot in the head. You know what I mean? Yeah. But anyway, listen to this. By the way, Butler, Pennsylvania is BP. The letters is 216. That's August 4th, the 216th day of the year. BP, Butler, Pennsylvania. Did you hear about? There's another shooter. I forgot to mention this. I don't know if you heard this. There's a kid from Wisconsin, 17-year-old. There's that 17 again for Ohio. Kills his parents. That way he could get the money to go and kill Trump and overthrow the government.
No, I have not heard about this one. This is good.
Look it up right now. The kid's name, I think, is Nikita, CASAP. CASAP. Nikita CASAP.
Last year around this time, I'm going to pull up his name here. Around this time, there was a lot of talk about a Trump assassination plot. Alex Jones, everybody was talking about it, and now again, it's a big conversation right now. All of a sudden, this is becoming a thing again. So, and it's like open, like the left is openly declaring their desire to see assassinations left and right, and Musk is also in the crosshairs.
Yeah, that I was thinking that that if anyone does get taken out, I would think it would have been the vice president, the VP.
Yes.
Because he's from Ohio, that would be another connection.
What the heck? And Ohio, you said, isn't Ohio, you said it's Cleveland, zip code 216?
Yeah, the Cleveland, Ohio 260. And Trump's birthday, Columbus, Ohio is 614, Trump's birthday. So everything's connected to Ohio, but go ahead.
Okay, teen suspected of murdering parents tied to a cult and a conspiracy, and he had a manifesto to spark a political revolution. Okay, this is interesting. A neo-Nazi cult, that doesn't make sense that it would be a neo-Nazi. Name is Nikita Kasap. Stepfather's name is Donald Mayer. Let's see if there's anything.
There's a Donald.
He's linked to the Order of Nine Angels. I've heard of that group. It's probably just feds. But regardless, this is new to me. This is another one. There's so many of these.
Didn't say that they didn't say he wanted to kill Trump?
No, it says here he fled with the $14,000 that he wanted to kill Trump and start a revolution.
Yeah, so it does say he wanted to kill Trump, right?
Yes, it's in his manifesto, and I don't know if we can find it, but if anybody wants to look it up, his name is Kasap. I'd like to read his manifesto. Hopefully, it's not another Chat GPT manifesto like the last ones.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you think of that chopper crash?
Now that I've looked at the after effect, the fallout as far as like the political use of it, I think it's fake.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. There was some connection I made. Now my brain's not remembering what it was.
Well, we got hype. Okay, wait, there's a couple things. Maybe you've heard of this one. Okay, one, it follows that other one. So we've had two of these things back to back. But I think one of the things that stood out to me was that when we had the previous helicopter crash, where the plane hit the helicopter, one of the victims, one of the deceased, it was her birthday. And so we have this story about how it was this lady's birthday. Well, the girl who died in this helicopter crash says here it was her birthday. Final photo of birthday girl. So both helicopter crashes have a birthday girl. I don't know what that means, but it's there.
Well, I know that the numbers on this chopper, because there was 3 letters and 3 numbers, the 3 numbers was 216, and they were together straight across, 216, and then there was a letter before the 216 and then the 2 letters after. So the 216 was right in the middle, so that's the August 4th connection, 216th day of the year. And they were saying that this helicopter was in 21 years and it was the 6th one of the day. It was 21 years in service and sixth time that it was going out that day. So there's your 216 again.
Yeah, 216. The 216 connection's intriguing for a few reasons, because you've got one, it's August 4th. It's also the 6 cubed, so it's 6 times 6 times 6. And
right.
Pythagoras said that it's the Phoenix number because it represents the time between incarnations. So you got the Phoenix cycle, 666, and August 4th, Obama's birthday. It's kind of got it all in there.
Right, and the chopper, it looked like it was chopped off. Get it? The head. It looked like a head was rolling in the air.
I thought so too. The way it flipped, it did. It was like,
yeah.
Okay, and somebody was just conveniently right there to record it. But
yeah.
No, the reason I arrived at it being fake is because it's heavily promoted, and all the big pundits are offering their opinions about it. And these are political opinions.
Well, I know what the reason. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, they make these stories so that you automatically believe it because it fits your preconception. So right-wingers are like, it's because it was a DEI pilot. And that's, again,
that's what I was about to tell you.
Yeah.
I was about to tell you. It was a black dude, the pilot. But that's not what's funny. It's his name. That's why I know it's fake. Because you know what his name was? Remember, I told you what the code is, the man in the sun, for the code.
What's his name?
His name was Johnson. His name was Johnson.
Okay, Johnson. Yeah, I got to watch some of your older videos again, because you really did catch a lot of these things where we talk about indicators of a hoax. Well, the names are right there in your face. And if you have the JL decoder ring, You would never be fooled again.
Yeah. Well, it's really easy. All you got to look for is the man or the son, or the same initials, or a sexual innuendo code, or if they have like the cock or the dick in the name, or uh, same initials, or the man or son, or and if they use the Christ or the Christian or the Jesus, a lot of times you'll see that in their big stories. Like Christ, Christian, Christina. They love to mock God. And of course, the 33 code. You know that already.
Yeah, that one's ridiculous. And I'm surprised the Mr. Satan guy was 32. I happen to think that they have to change their stories because we're noticing. Because it's all these 32s and 34s. It's like, just say it. He's 33.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. But yeah, man, the fact that they pick Elon and Trump with this Mr. Satan, for sure that it's connected to what we're talking about, Starman, because we've been saying that, and the fact that Elvis is born on, because Elvis is the Starman. He's the Rocket Man, the Starman. Everything to do with all of that is all connected to Elvis, because Elvis is born on stupid David Bowie's born on Elvis' birthday, and so is Kim Ding Dong, the North Korean dictator.
No, wait, Starman and Rocket Man. This is all interesting because Elton John had that eye injury that was very prominent last year. He had something on his eye. Same thing with Jay Leno. They telegraphed this stuff through all these characters, but we're in the final 2 months. Like, this is, I don't know. Things are getting really heavy right now, propaganda-wise. The left wing is fully agitated. They're burning cars, Cybertrucks, or at least we're told that they are. But it looks to me like they're preparing the summer to be another big one.
Oh, the fact that they're having a military parade on Trump's birthday, come on, man.
Flag Day, and
Yeah.
that reminds me. Don't Look Up, the movie Don't Look Up. I brought this up like a couple weeks ago, but Don't Look Up is about a comet about to hit the Earth, and it's been compared metaphorically to the Titanic getting hit by the iceberg. And interestingly enough, in the trailer they say in 6 months and 14 days the Earth is going to get hit, and 6/14 again, Trump's birthday, Flag Day. Seems like foreshadowing.
Listen, you got to see this. Look. The Trump turns 79 on June 14th. Okay, which is Flag Day, of course, and it's also World Blood Donor Day. And Trump was born under a blood moon eclipse, but it's World Blood Donor Day. It's Flag Day, and it's the Army's birthday, right? But what's important is the flag. So. That I call the creature Sir Wiener Williams. Sir Wiener Williams. That creature. Okay. There was a tennis match. It was in the Olympics, and the Olympics, they hand out gold medals, right? And gold and silver and all that, right? So Trump turns 79 on June 14th, Flag Day, and that's the day he turns gold. Do you know what I mean by that?
No. What do you mean by that?
Because gold is the 79th element.
Okay, this is interesting because go on, please.
Yeah, don't forget what you're going to say. Write it down. So he turns gold on 79. So Sir Wiener Williams, that creature, during the gold medal ceremony in 2012, during the gold medal ceremony in London, at the Wimbledon, okay, wins the gold medal. As the national anthem is playing, the flag falls during the ceremony of her getting the creature, winning the gold medal. And what do you think the date was when the flag fell?
6/14.
No, August 4th. because it's going to fall that day. He's going to die.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. Okay, well, you said turning gold, and what?
That's what I meant, because it was a gold medal she was winning. I keep saying
Okay.
she, the creature.
Okay.
Gold medal.
Okay.
So that's the connection. Gold. So what they're telling you is when Trump turns gold, the flag falls on August 4th. And the flag day is Trump, 614, right? And you know that 6 times 14 equals 84.
Yes, exactly, exactly. And Diana Southard points out, and this is what I had written down, in Beetlejuice, which came out about a month after Trump was fake shot, he's in the netherworld. Donald Trump is there in a gold suit with even got his little flag thing, but he's dead. So you got this dead Trump in line in the netherworld in a golden suit. And again, that's Beetlejuice. So this golden Trump associated with the death has been kind of one of our things.
Well, and can I give you the second part to it? What is the second piece of the puzzle is the silver, because Trump is 47th president, right? And Elvis has been dead for 47 years, and the 47th element is Elvis. I mean, is silver.
Okay, so 47 and 79, silver and gold. Didn't know that. Interesting.
Okay, now, why is it that silver? Because silver has the Elvis. You understand that, right? It's in there. It's silver is basically the word Elvis with an R, and there's only the R left over, and the R is 18. Elvis is born on 1/8. So basically, the word silver is Elvis with an R. You know, he's born on 1/8. R is the 18th letter. So Elvis is silver. Trump is the 47th president, right? Because Elvis has been dead for 47 years. Trump is the 47th president, and he's gold. So what Elvis needs to do, he needs to enter Trump. And that's what happens on August 4th when Trump is pronounced dead. When he gets up out of the dead, he becomes the abomination of desolation. You know, that's why you have the Obama-nation, but it's really abomination of desolation. So basically, he's a walking zombie. Satan has entered him, because Elvis is Satan. So he enters him on August 4th. And that's why he becomes the abomination of desolation. Well, I shouldn't say August 4th, August 8th, because August 4th is when he's pronounced dead. So
Okay.
I don't know exactly.
Well, you're really. I see what you're saying here, and this is really intriguing to me, because the whole idea of dying, coming back evil. I'm thinking Terminator 2, T2, where he's got the red eye. I'll be back. That whole thing. But if you go into the symbolism, Terminator 2, James Cameron, 9/11 predictive programming, but also specifically on 9/11, James Cameron was at the site of the sunken Titanic, filming something called Ghosts in the Abyss. And I think that's to reference Revelation 9/11 about the destroyer over the abyss, the Terminator, Apollyon. In other words, the 9/11 connection symbolically to Terminator, or the concept of the Terminator, correlates with Trump, and therefore it correlates with the next 9/11, the eye wound, and the resurrection.
Yeah, so because in the Bible it says that Satan, that's how he becomes the abomination of desolation, that Satan enters him. The one who gets the head wound but lives,
Well, on September 11th, all around Ground Zero, there were billboards of Arnold Schwarzenegger, because there was a movie that was going to come out, and it was called Collateral Damage. But you associate these actors with their various roles. And Revelation 9/11 has the angel of the abyss looking over the destruction, or looking over the abyss. And so I think that the billboard with Arnie's face on it, which was featured in some 9/11 footage, that it was conveying, because there's actually footage of a plane hitting the tower with Arnold Schwarzenegger right there from that movie poster.
Wow.
And they changed the movie Collateral Damage because it was about terror attacks. So they had to delay the release of the movie, but the billboards were there overlooking Ground Zero. So overlooking 9/11 was the Terminator, the destroyer, and also representing, of course, Trump in his future capacity.
Yeah, and the word Satan equals 55, and Trump was 55 that year.
Fascinating.
And that's why Obama was 55 when Trump was elected and became president. He was 55, Obama. So that's what I'm saying. It's all connected,
You know, this this
this
this
whole puzzle.
it really is. I was watching this movie with Will Smith in it. It's called Focus. And at one point, they're basically he's a con man, and they're trying to get this individual to pick the number 55 in a bet. And the way they do it is they have the number 55 all around in his frame of reference all day, and he's I think he speaks Mandarin, and they keep
I
playing.
remember that, the Asian guy.
Yeah,
The Asian guy.
well,
Yeah, yeah,
they
yeah.
keep
Go ahead.
playing the song "Sympathy for the Devil" in the background.
Wow.
And the reason why
Mm-hmm,
is they said when in the background it says "woo woo" consistently, which in his language is 5 5. So it keeps chanting 5 5 in his head in a song about the devil, of course, as they're trying to get him to choose player 55. So I just thought that's kind of interesting because JL had just mentioned that number being associated with Satan.
Right. Yep. And I told you the year Elvis turned 55, because Satan equals 55, and the reduced number is 10, because 5 plus 5 is 10. So when you see Satan, his numbers are 55, 10. The year Elvis turned 55 was in 1990. The Super Bowl score was 55-10. He is Satan, dude.
Well, I can't disagree. I mean, just analyzing this, let's say I'm an alien anthropologist looking at the persona of Elvis and all the iconography, the Phoenix stuff, the whole rock star thing. Yeah, it's all built into
Mm-hmm.
it's all built into his character. The lightning bolt, Satan falling like lightning. So this Mr. Satan thing,
Yep.
and the shooting connection that they just made with this latest would-be assassin, kind of also ties this all together.
And lastly, that TCB logo that he uses. Do you know about that?
The taking care of business. Does it have a lightning bolt?
Yeah, he uses the lightning bolt as his thing, right? Yeah, the TCB, taking care of business. Uh, Interestingly enough, those are the three presidents in 1946. Trump, Clinton, and Bush. The TCB. See what I mean? And they all born the same year. Uh, but here's the thing: the TCB. If you said the three letters backwards, if you really look at it, you could see it as the word beast. You know,
Elvis as
I'm
the
serious.
the beast from the sea. You've been describing this for some time, and this has been a reoccurring theme. But for people who don't know, you've also made the strong connection between Elvis and the number 42, Washington State. All this stuff is like so internally consistent that I'm just like,
Yeah. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
no, I'm just saying for anyone here who's like new to this stuff, it's like we're just talking about their symbolism, their code. There's a reason why Elvis wore the Phoenix thing. And have you heard about Elvis's obsession with like H.P. Blavatsky or Manly P. Hall?
Well, yeah, I heard he was into Blavatsky. Like he would read on the stage, he would read her stuff or something to the people in the audience. I don't know if that's true, but that's what they say.
Yeah,
You would think someone would have a video of that if that was true. You know what I mean?
yeah. Well, there's a lot of stories about him having this obsession with this stuff. But anyway, one more point here. In that movie that I referenced, the one Megalopolis, where Caesar is Trump and he gets shot. In that movie, they build a gold statue to the character that's John Voight plays, which he looks just like Trump. But in that movie, Elvis performs at Saturnalia. Saturn, you could correlate that with Satan maybe, but at the Saturnalia, Elvis is performing wrapped in an American flag, singing Trump's inauguration song, America the Beautiful. Like, how does this make sense to anybody but an insider to what's happening?
Yeah. Well, and the fact that Elvis was given the Presidential Medal of Freedom Award by Trump, I should tell you right there that something's going on. Because why would they wait all those years to give him the Presidential Medal of Freedom Award when all these other presidents could have gave it to him? Carter loved Elvis, Bush loved Elvis, Clinton loved Elvis, but why did they wait for Trump to give it to him? You know.
Right. Well, the connections with Elvis and Nixon are interesting with the whole Colt 45. And I pointed out before Trump was shot that he was selling a shot glass. I mean, it doesn't make sense. Trump is a teetotaler. He doesn't drink. But for years, he has been selling out of Trump Tower a shot glass with his signature on it and a 45 in the glass. Why would he have that?
Yeah, let me ask you this. Has he made one with the 47 in it?
His people have made one after the fact. They have. They've capitalized on it.
They did it? They did? Okay.
But his 45 whiskey bar at Trump Tower has had a shot glass with a bullet in it for years with his signature. And I just thought it makes no sense. Why would a former president want a shot glass with a bullet when he doesn't even drink? And it's to me, that's just like a dead giveaway again that this is a plan and it was fake.
Yeah, we could go on all day, bro, because I know your viewers are going nuts. But do me a favor. Can you put my channel thing on your chat if anyone wants to go there?
Yeah, absolutely. I will. And I'm also going to put it in the notes. I'll put it in the show notes for everyone to go to. Jurassic Liars. And you have the numbers. It's 6/11 and August 4th.
Yeah, in the numbers, yeah.
Yeah. Well,
anyway, bro. Yeah, we could go on all day, man. I can't even think of all the stuff. It's so much, you know what I mean?
Well, I was watching some of your videos last night, and the one where you were going over the clock and the hand positions, like 11:30 has 6/11 kind of encoded into it, and that's just another level where you could dig into this stuff and find how deep it goes. It's endless.
Yeah, but you gotta look at the connection that I showed with, you know, in 1961 when Obama was born. Did you happen to see that, how it's connected to Vernon and the 666 and all that stuff?
No,
you got it,
okay,
man. I don't know.
Okay, I'll have to get it.
Go to the next video after. If you didn't, you just go through the videos and the last 3 or 4 of them eventually, and you'll see it. It's absolutely incredible. You got to see it.
Will do. I'll check it out because I'm paying attention to this exclusively now. I mean, I'm trying to get this connection between Trump and Obama. And the Obama birthday stuff is a huge clue to all this stuff. And, and it's kind of crazy because he kind of disappeared for a while. He was irrelevant, but he just sort of comes back.
Yeah. And yeah, the fact that stupid Obama's still in the news with his creature wife, husband, whatever it is. The rumors of them getting a divorce. Yeah.
Yeah, because he's dating Jennifer Aniston, they had said. And she's from Friends, of course, which connects to Leave the World Behind. I don't know how true that is, but regardless.
And the creature's born on 2/11, 42nd day of the year, yeah.
Oh, 2/11 is the 42nd day of the year.
And 47 prime is 211. So it's got the 42-47, which is the Elvis connection.
And
but
we've already talked about Abel, the Weeknd, how the Weeknd was born on February 16th. And so he has the 216 code. And if you look at all his world stage appearances, just outside of his music, he's got the head wound stuff at the Super Bowl. The name, of course, Abel, head wound. Abe Lincoln, Abe L, head wound. So it's like
right.
they've been using that particular character to reinforce all these same things. You mentioned Butler, Pennsylvania, BP 216. Brock Purdy, the quarterback, BP 216, was compared to Lee Harvey Oswald for some reason. So
yeah, that was a great catch. Yeah, I didn't hear about that. You told me. I got that from you. Yeah, that part, the Brock Purdy thing. But about the head wound. The stupid. What is his name? The Weeknd.
The Weeknd.
Yeah, the way he spells his name, the Weeknd, it equals the words head wound or something like that. You got to watch my video on that. Yeah. The day he started, the first time he wore the head wound, the bandages on his head was at one of these award shows, and it was on 11/22, JFK's death date.
Wow.
The first time.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to do a wiki article on that character because that's another clue. I missed that one. He's not insignificant in any of these things, but and one more point about the Weeknd. He's got a video for the song Save Your Tears, which has a Kubrick theme, which has connotations here for all this. But at the end of it, he puts a gun to his head, and he pulls the trigger and it just shoots out confetti, and everybody claps because it was such a good fake, you know. So I'm like, okay, head wound, fake, everybody claps. Kubrick, savior. Anyway, uh,
Yeah,
appreciate.
and 216, yeah, and 216 is the 47th day of the year, and it's besides the 216 being August 4th, 216 is the 47th day of the year, 1 month, 16 days into the year. So it's got the 611 connection, and it's got the 47 connection because Elvis has been dead 47 years. Trump's the 47th president. It's all right there, man. And the weekend, his full name, Abel something, whatever the hell his name is, his full name equals Donald John Trump in the forward numbers. The backward numbers don't match, but his forward numbers, which is more important, it equals exactly Donald John Trump.
This is wild. I mean, the 47th day of the year is his birthday because you remember the guy that shot up the 4/7 or 4th of July parade had the 47 tattooed on his head, and he was obsessed with Lee Harvey Oswald, and he went to Trump rallies.
Wow.
So I'm like, okay,
Wow.
this.
Yeah.
So there's just, and that was the Highland Park shooter, and at the same time, the Parkland High shooter was having his sentencing, and again, JFK died at Parkland Hospital. We were finding all these connections with JFK and the number 47 and Trump, but for him to have the 216 and the 47 encoded into his birthday and all the head wound stuff,
Yeah.
yeah, that's
Well,
rich.
well, the Parkland shooting, is that the one you're talking about? That one is connected all to Trump. You know that because it was on 214, and 214 is the 45th day of the year, and 17 people were killed. 17 is Ohio, which I told you he's going to get his head wound in Ohio. And he was born 17 years before JFK, and the Q is the 17, you know that and all that. And the it was 17 people killed on the 45th day of the year. And the main character, who looks like me, the father, his son was killed. The son was killed on August 4th at the age of 17. See what I mean?
Okay, yeah, the whole Parkland thing, you're right. It did have connections, and it happened to be, weirdly enough, an Ash Wednesday. And if you look at the photographs from that day, you have the grieving parents and their kids, and they all have a black X on their heads, which I think might refer to something other than the Ash Wednesday. But the whole thing was, yeah, definitely a big part of the bigger story.
Yeah. Anyway, brother, that was a good stuff, man. And hopefully you can find some more on those the two recent stuff that just came out with Trump.
Yeah, I've got your last few videos bookmarked. I'll be checking them out. And yeah, this call went by fast. It feels like you just called, and we're about 42 minutes in. So thanks for your time, and thanks for all the information.
All right, bro. I'll be calling in again. All right, take care, man.
All right, see ya. All right, everyone. I just put, and Space Chimps put it as well. There's Jurassic Liars. There's his channel. It's Jurassic Liars, Elvis, Seattle 611. And it may sound dense, like there's a lot of stuff we're throwing out there, but it helps to map it out. And I'm involved in this new project, this Wikipedia on all these hoaxes. And one of the things I'm doing is I'm showing that, no, we are indeed recognizing patterns. And even the AI has to say, oh, yeah, there are 60 people who were shot at this event who were also shot at this event, but it's just a coincidence. I'm like, okay, thanks, AI, for trying to guardrail my thinking on the matter. Got another caller coming in. 1 second. Hey, what's up, caller?
Hey, Tim, it's Leo Pirate.
Hey, what's up, Leo Pirate? You had commented in the chat here about the golden statue and John Vaught. Is that his name?
Yeah, John Voight or something?
John
yeah,
Voight.
The guy who... he basically... We had talked about that when around the time Megalopolis had come out. He brings in the visual presence of Donald Trump. And on the world stage, he's actually an ardent Trump supporter. So those two go hand in hand. And at the end of the film, there's a statue, a golden statue made of him that he donates to Megalopolis to be remembered forever with Caesar Catalina's plan to build Megalopolis. And then we noted when on Truth Social, Trump had posted that AI-generated video of Trump Gaza, he had a giant golden statue of himself that looked very similar to what was shown in Megalopolis several months earlier.
The Golden Dawn, which happens to be kind of an occultic term, the meaning of it being the dawning of the new age. But one more point there about Megalopolis, because we're not reaching here. Megalopolis is about Magellan. Megalon, make Rome great again. So the connections to Caesar, Rome, Trump, it's very explicit. It's very ham-fisted, in fact.
In fact, yeah, it's so straightforward that it's put in this surreal style, and it was really lambasted by critics. It won Razzie Awards, like Francis Ford Coppola was saying, like, you're just insulting true art. But as we've come to realize that in the world stage, or the media apparatus of the Mind War entertainment complex, films like that don't just get made haphazardly. Like, it doesn't. When I was younger, I did really want to get into the entertainment industry. Thank God I didn't. But I was always interested in it because, we're moved by these movies, these comic books, video games, and we're like, I want to contribute to this. But there's a filtration system, a filtering system, if you will. There's a hierarchy. It's nepotism. And really, the farther you go up, certain films are released and created on a schedule for the synchronization with fake news. And you don't get to make the decisions. And this is why, you've pointed out, predictive programming only exists in these big properties that we see on Netflix, Hollywood films, big video game studios. If you or me were to write a little short story, or create a graphic novel or a comic book that had elements that did happen in the news, that wouldn't be predictive programming because we're not in the club.
Exactly. And to be a programmer, you have to have that mass platform, and it's a closed system. You're not going to find news media agencies that just completely expose things as they really are. You're just going to have the pro and the anti. It's always the same. Just the pro and the controlled opposition anti.
And the reason why I wanted to call in to kind of go off what JL and the previous caller was saying is, you had been, I guess, a Blue Mod, you were in Freemasonry at one point. So you're very aware that symbols have multiple interpretations. In fact, the lower degrees of Freemasonry, they are deliberately taught exoteric or simple interpretations. And then as they ascend higher, then they get more esoteric interpretations. And really, you get to the real top of some of the most important writers in it, people like Manly P. Hall, and his name is escaping me. He was a Confederate general, Albert Pike, that's it. Morals and Dogma, or their writings, they explicitly say this. And the reason why I bring this up is a liar, you can lie by just twisting the truth. Like a half truth is a full lie. Even a 98% truth with 2% misdirection is a lie. That's it, right? Full
I
stop.
agree. I agree that the news reporter can tell you the truth. They can tell you the sky's blue. They can tell you that it's the time. They can tell you objective facts, but they are still liars because their frame of reference is agenda driven and exclusive of other things because they're trying to create a specific worldview. So they're lying by default, and lying by omission. That's certainly effective. And the fake news only has to be a small percentage of it. It's just a small percentage of the news is fake. The rest is real. And it just happens to be that the fake stuff drives the dominant narratives. But yeah, you're absolutely right about lies. And when it comes to the Masons, it's funny. You hear some people say, well, I'm a Mason and it's just normal. It's just Boy Scouts for grown-ups. It's just a club. And it's like, well, how can they be so sure? Because I got into that after the military because of some people I met who were in it, and I got interested. But I was already kind of versed in the more occult aspect of the initiatory societies, specifically like the Thelemic stuff and others. So when I went into the Masonic thing, I was like, okay, this is an exoteric version of the mystery schools. Like structurally, it's the same, but they occult it. They hide it, and you have to have the initiate's interpretation to know what you're seeing.
Yeah, and I bring that up because with the discussions with the last two callers about how like 33 degrees Fahrenheit is like the starting degree where melting occurs, like one above 0 degrees Celsius, and how the escape velocity is 33, Mach 33 speed, right? And so many things about the tilt of the Earth's axis also has these numerological implications. And some people say, like, my goodness, is this God encoding secret messages? Not at all. You know that even the 9.8 meters per second squared, depending on what units you use, you understand, like the metric system or what units you use to decorate these observable, reproducible, empirical facts, that is how you can create an alternate explanation. Magicians do it all the time. They show you a bird disappearing and they tell you it was magic. But the real explanation is actually just outside. If a true magician watched it, they'd say, oh yeah, they had another bird there or something like that. And that's essentially how all of this works. And it can even be done retroactively to historical figures. A very popular notion, which I heard you mention, which stirred me to call up, is you had mentioned, Isaac Newton was an alchemist. He was. And I read Miles Mathis's paper on Isaac Newton, his connections to the elite. But I really do think what is significantly underplayed are Isaac Newton's private writings on Christianity. It actually was taken by his niece. It was purchased by a museum in Israel and then later purchased by an economist, John Maynard Keynes, and finally released on the internet in 2000s, like 2008 or something. I forgot the exact year. It's called the Newton Project. You can read online. And I am of the opinion it is his, authentic writings, especially in the old style English. It's written with like tis and, difficult to read, and the script is also very stuff. But I will say, having read Isaac Newton's private writings, I have no doubt he was a genuine Bible-believing Christian. He locked himself in his room and studied the scriptures for a decade. He even tried to make his own translation. But in his earlier years, he was absolutely immersed in the elite bloodlines. He did translate the Emerald Tablets. He did practice alchemy. But, the later years of Isaac Newton's life, no one ever talks about that. He completely quit science and academia and focused entirely on the study of the scriptures. And he kept his writings private because there were blasphemy laws in England to deny the Trinity. And he held to the view that the Trinity was a form of misdirection. It was like decorating another god on top of the scriptures that was perpetuated by Roman paganism, what we call Catholicism or Orthodoxy, and it essentially spread its way out, and it has always been that way. He kept those writings private because he would have gone to jail in England, right? Because there are blasphemy laws. So we've talked about this before. It's very interesting that the first nuclear test site is the Trinity test site. Behind the Pope, there's the statue, the Fazzini, which shows Jesus resurrecting out of a nuclear crater. Very odd. It's a God construct, the nuke, isn't it?
It happens to be. And so Isaac Newton, 1666 is when the apple fell on his head. I think there's something interesting about this. I thought maybe the apple, has a certain connotations, but specifically the name Newton struck me as interesting here because Newton being associated with gravity. And, Starman, we were talking about Mr. Satan, Starman, David Bowie. When he is in the movie The Man Who Fell to Earth, so you got the idea of gravity falling to Earth, his name was Newton. Tom Newton, the alien who fell to Earth. Mr. Satan is Tom Newton.
Yeah, and I love the story of the apple falling on Newton's head. That's also a classic example of what I'm explaining right here about how you can retroactively create misdirection or false explanation for real historical figures. That was created by Voltaire, that story. That's like a fiction. That's like a historical fiction.
Funny.
It was invented by Voltaire. Yeah, Newton himself, certainly. That's not real. But it became so embedded in pop culture that people just started saying it. I remember in my AP physics class being told that everyone just kind of just says it, but it's just not.
Yeah, I obviously I think it's kind of fishy, but Voltaire's funny. Yeah, I think his writings are hilarious. He wrote this one called Micromegas. It's like the first space travel science fiction about this person who was on one planet where he's a giant. He travels from Sirius to Mars. And when he's on one planet, he's giant. Another one, he's small. Micromegas. It's a fascinating story. It's funny. But anyway, Apple computers, the first Apple computer, and this, of course, the apple with the symbol of the bite through it, kind of seems to insinuate something about the Garden of Eden. But how much did they sell that computer for?
The first computer sold for Apple One sold for $666.66. And what's curious is their original logo. People usually think of the apple with the bite in it, the silhouette of that. even before that, the Apple logo was a kind of old-fashioned sketch or etching of Isaac Newton sitting underneath the tree. And they had also even, when John Scott, the Pepsi CEO was the CEO of Apple at one point, they had released a Newton, like at the PDA, the old
What?
it's pretty.
Okay, so we have another Apple 666 Newton kind of link here. That's funny. I had not heard that part. I also found it kind of curious that some people believe that John Lennon didn't really die, but he came back as Steve Jobs, and they've made this connection between the Apple I think it was some kind of thing with the Beatles, Apple Music, and Apple computers. I have to find this, but there's a lot of stuff with Apple I need to look into now as a symbol, because this is again, the Apple, the 666, the bite in the apple. There's some kind of subtext here.
Oh, absolutely. And their most popular show on their streaming service is called Severance. And I could talk at length. I've been collecting so many notes about that show. But the reason why I bring up like the thing like, the apple fell on Newton's head, or, things that are in pop culture, things we take for granted, even in our language, we have to look into the etymology of these things, or like, where did they come from? And something I found really funny is the idea of it's not hard. It's not rocket science. Have you ever heard that?
Oh yeah, yeah.
People equate rocket science with like a genius. You have to be like the smartest person ever if you're a rocket scientist, right? Because no one can understand it. It's just too hard. It's just too hard. It's too scientific. You're a peon. You're a dumb untouchable. You can't understand what it's like to travel to space. In fact, it's so difficult to understand that when you start pointing out CGI generated images and stuff, you're seen as a lunatic, a Luddite, someone. What is it, in the last stream, someone said they were called a soy boy for questioning SpaceX. It's silly.
Yeah, being called a soy boy, that's funny, for questioning. And these are the people who think that Musk represents the savior of the West, the savior of free speech. No, he's sending you to space communism. He's 100% a double agent stalking horse and a fall guy to be blamed for the downfall of free speech. He's going to provide the justification for ubiquitous censorship, and we're going to beg for it. Or the masses will, just like they're going to be compliant, or at least half of them will. But that's also worth pointing out here, that the public has been given a lot of stories just to believe, to shape their worldview, and these are things that are in our history. So our fake history, fake news, what's the difference? The fake history is just old fake news.
Yeah, there's a great book on this by Yuval Harari. I can't say his name. The name of the book is called Homo Deus. He was a speaker at the World Economic Forum. And he basically talks about this, that people are subconsciously controlled through narratives, through stories. And I've talked about this concept before, but all of the ancient world empires, from Egypt, Assyria, Babylon, Medo-Persia, Greece, Rome, continuing Rome still exists, they've all had their own fantastical origin story, usually tied to the stars in some way, some sort of astrotheology, their own staged miracles, faked miracles, that gives divine legitimacy to their world empire at that point in history. Rome even has the story of Romulus and Remus, the two twins born of the Vestal Virgin and Mars, and were saved by a she-wolf when they were cast into a river. And now recently there was this thing about dire wolves that was named Romulus. I think was it named after.
They said they resurrected a direwolf, called it Romulus, and at the same time we had a story of these twins in the news at the track meet. I don't know if these connect, but I saw these come together, and the name Romulus was also brought up recently in the latest installment of Aliens with Ridley Scott, which I haven't seen yet. So I've been looking into that Romulus. Yeah. So that was another reference to it. Might be worth watching.
I haven't seen it either, but I did see, once I saw it was like Alien Romulus, I was like, oh, I wonder what, a subconscious message they're referencing there. And I think the most profound thing I've heard you say, Tim, is that outer space is an analogy or a story for inner space. Because everyone who's watching Star Trek, Star Wars, the NASA footage, which, by the way, are very comparable, they're all just as real, it does affect us. And the space communism, or how Musk is polluting outer space with his space junk and stuff. People hate Musk for what he's really doing, polluting the internet with his garbage on X, but now he's even polluting space. So it's like another thing to be upset at him about. And there's this boiling, seething rage that's building up against the Rocket Man, the epic science man, Elon Musk.
Yeah, actually, this is interesting because at the Super Bowl, they ended the performance of Kendrick Lamar and they had Game Over in the stands. And it was all like video game graphics. And so Game Over. And today, Laura Loomer was out on patrol and she saw this leftist dressed up as the character Luigi with the sign that says Game Over and was calling for the assassination of Musk. So I'm like, okay, now we're getting somewhere here. The Game Over, the Mario game, there's a new Mario movie out, but this declaration of war against the elite and demonizing Musk in particular, because the richest man in the world can bring down entire systems. Cyberspace, outer space, low Earth orbit, and the space between our ears, which is, of course, tied to cyberspace and his direct access to all of our inner spaces. So they've made this pretty clear that the individual is a threat to the collective, and Musk is the richest individual.
Exactly.
Yep.
Because I think many will call Elon Musk like a faker. They won't touch his SpaceX stuff, but they'll say like, oh, he's fake, he's really not that smart and all stuff. But they don't think about the big picture. If he is a fake character, a lifetime role, if you will, what is his role in this big world stage? Like, what is it actually working towards? And I think your interpretation is absolutely spot on. He is the spitting image of everything we hate about the narrative of crony capitalism. Same thing with Boeing, right? Profits over humanity. One man who's too rich. One man who's rugged individualism. If it goes too far, we can see how a single man can control one of the largest social media platforms on the internet and effectively cause the madness. There was a Netflix show made about it. That's mirroring the news right now, right? So this narrative is just being pounded into the minds of everyone to accept what's coming. But listen, the reason why I called in is because you were talking about possible I wound Trump business. I've had the perspective that the predictive programming is highly suggests the perpetrator will be a far right wing perpetrator, and the reason why for this is both in the Madness and Joker. I'll get to Joker in a little bit. The Madness, Rodney Crane, that character who was the tech mogul who was behind all of the madness, he at the very end was killed by a member of the Forge, right, which was that neo-Nazi group.
Oh, that's right. That's right. That's right. It was one of his own side. He wasn't
actually killed. Yeah. He wasn't killed by the CNN guy who held a gun to his head. I thought he was. No, it wasn't. He was actually taken out by a far right-wing guy. That's one thing. Joker, on the other hand, the Joaquin Phoenix Joker, Phoenix, 33, Rebirth, Order Out of Chaos, whatever. It's curious because his depiction in Todd Phillips' version of Joker, his suit is all red. I don't know. When I grew up and I watched Batman the Animated Series or in the comics, Joker is all in purple. But just Todd Phillips' Joker, he's all in red. His suit is all red. He takes a shot right in the eye of Robert De Niro, who played the character of that senator who was giving a xenophobic rant right as a failed assassination attempt occurs on him in a public rally in the film Machete.
Right. And the red, that's a good observation. Went from purple to red, and as Joker in red, he shoots De Niro, who happened to play the character that inspired Reagan's shooter, that inspired the shooter of Brady and Reagan, Hinckley. He was inspired by Taxi Driver Travis Bickle, the basis for the Joker character. So Robert De Niro plays the assassin and the assassinated in multiple movie roles. But getting shot by the red Joker, that's fascinating. I did notice that actually, the change in the suit, but that's interesting that Todd Phillips made that change.
Yeah, and it's curious because the John Hinckley Jr., who was inspired by Taxi Driver, is what inspired him to participate in the staged fake Reagan assassination attempt that failed. And it's explicitly stated, even on the Wikipedia page, it was very well known that he was heavily inspired by Taxi Driver. That in fact, like Jodie Foster, he was like trying to impress her, right? What's curious, and I think this might be going into JL territory where we start doing dates. I try to distance myself from Gematria and date stuff. I like to focus on narratives, but I couldn't help but notice this. The release date of Taxi Driver, the number of days from when Taxi Driver released in theaters to when John Hinckley Jr. participated in that news event is a number that escapes me at the moment. But if you take the number of days from that, the difference in those days, and add it to the release date of the first Joker with Joaquin Phoenix, you come to 11/22/2024.
Ooh, that's
Right?
nice. That's
So
nice. That's actually,
right.
and that's the date. 11/22/24 is when One Assassination Under God came out, Marilyn Manson's album, and
By Marilyn Manson. Yep.
and he's on tour. And his present tour, he's closing with the song "Coma White," and that's the video where he plays JFK getting shot. And by the way, what was Hinckley's birthday? John Hinckley Jr.'s birthday.
Oh, it actually escapes me at the moment. What was John Hinckley's?
It was
his birthday.
JFK's birthday, 5/29.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
so they always want to the subconsciously pushing us towards what happened to JFK is eventually what's going to be staged to happen to Trump. And you mentioned Coma White with Marilyn Manson, the music video for One Assassination Under God. He's dressed as the Umbrella Man from the JFK assassination. It's a Zapruder film, and he's holding a sacrificial goat and saying that you will be entertained forever. Very odd, but it gets even crazier with the JFK Joker connection. Joker 2, it ends with his trial. I think we both saw Joker 2. It's, whatever, hated by critics, hated by fans, a musical, but it's a court case, the whole thing. End of the film, a black woman stands up and reads out the court case number. And I actually just had it here on my, I had to look this up. The court case number was GC071963. 1963, the year of JFK's assassination.
Okay. Like Leave the World Behind, zip code 11963. That's good. And that movie Joker, people said what they said about it, but I look at it as a propaganda piece. It had the tagline, "All the world's a stage." And I think you're the one who said that when they bomb the courthouse, it's like breaking the fourth wall. And it also had the thing as where Trump was on trial when he was arrested on 4/4/23. They were filming Joker 2 outside, and you could find news articles where the public thought that the crowd was there for Trump, but they were there for Joker. So you have another connection with Joker and Trump, and that date 4/4 was the 55th anniversary of MLK's death, and it was the 44th birthday of Heath Ledger, the first Joker. So you now have a new Joker, Joker 2, name is Phoenix, which signifies second coming. Trump arrested on MLK Day, and the crowd for the movie gets mixed up with Trump in real life. I mean, this is that's why we call it the meta script. They merge real and fake.
Exactly. It's the blending of the two. And Joker 2, I do recommend everyone do watch it for the sake of seeing the world stage. That's the movie's tagline, right? All the world is stage. But throughout it, there's a heavy emphasis played on this court case will be shown through the screen. It'll be shown on TV, and there are cameras everywhere. And when the courtroom is bombed, the camera pans and shows the cameras of the cameras that recording the court case, and it kind of goes outside where all the rioters are. And there's a scene where he gets interviewed by Joaquin Phoenix gets interviewed by someone, and again, it's shown through a camera screen, like a camera recording their interview. And he says to him, he's like, why did you shoot Franklin Murray? Like, how did you do that? That was crazy. And he said, well, it wasn't me. I don't remember it. And he says, you did it on live TV. It doesn't get any more real than that.
Oh,
that line stuck with me.
Okay. I'll have to watch it again. And one more point on this. So Joker's on trial. His fans are outside dressed like him. You got Luigi Mangione, based on the Joker in many ways, on trial. He's got fans outside, and his fans dress like him. You have many parallels between Kill the Rich in Joker and the Mangione-inspired Class War. And then I would even compare or correlate Joker's green hair with the Luigi and the green beret. And that's been another reoccurring theme as well, because the guy that blew up the Cybertruck and himself outside of the Trump hotel, so you got Musk and Trump being targeted there symbolically, he was a green beret. So green beret, like the green beret that Luigi, the character, wears.
And Luigi.
Yep.
Luigi also is green. And what I was going to say is the parallels you called out When the film came out in October, you're like, this is going to cause some kind of riotous uprising, similar to when the first movie came out. We had the Summer of Peace, right? Summer of Peaceful Protest, right? Similar to this, there were all those Luigi fangirls and just fans of him that were outside of his court case, and he was paraded around dressed exactly like Lee Harvey Oswald. Then in the Oval Office, Elon had brought one of his sons into the office, and he was crouched over the table with Trump signing documents, which was a one-to-one matching of JFK doing something similar. And it's as if in the news and in fiction, they're decorating with subconscious imagery, always bringing our minds back to what happened to JFK. And now the JFK, and by the way, in the news, yeah, the JFK files were released. You get to read more fiction. You get to read more fan fiction about what happened, right? But it's decorating us or preparing us for a future JFK situation with Donald Trump. But I go a step further because I think it's pretty uncontroversial. Everyone is saying, oh, when will Trump be taken out? Everyone's saying it now. I'm going a step further and saying I am asserting it will likely be a far right-wing activist just because of the Joker connections. And I have some ideas about why it might be that way. And you had read that book, In the Country of the Blind, or where the cover had a man with an eye patch and a nuke
Yes.
going off in the background.
Yeah. In fact, there's a story in The Country of the Blind by H.G. Wells, but then there's In the Country of the Blind by by Michael Flynn, who happens to be the same name as General Flynn. And it's about Q files. It's about a cabal controlling all media being exposed. It's about total media manipulation. But yeah, on the cover, it's got a guy with an eye patch and a nuke. And you can compare this to East Palestine, 42 miles away, Butler, Pennsylvania. The head wound scenario and the nuke cloud. These are fascinating connections you've made. The one with the Luigi presented as Oswald, and then you also saw him in a cop car looking like Joker in the taxi. Unbelievable levels of a meaning here. Like in the cop car, they've got an air freshener that has the character Deadpool, whose name is, I believe, is it like Wade Wilson or something? Whatever his name is, there's a serial killer with the same name who has a Joker tattoo smile and is known for having a huge female fan base. So we have these characters out there on the world stage right now, and they're constantly associating them with previous characters. And that scene in the White House, they were definitely trying to recreate JFK Jr. and JFK with Trump and Musk there. I mean, it's artfully done.
Artfully done. That's a perfect way to put it, because when you realize that these events are just as real as Hollywood films, meaning just as staged with floodlights, scriptwriters, cameras pointing at them, teleprompters, it's just as real as a Hollywood film. And if it is constructed in that way, as much artistry goes into it. And liars are very resourceful. If they get away with one lie, they'll treat that as gospel and constantly refer to it as it's an accepted reality. You already believe that lie. So, Orwell had said, like, he who controls the past controls the future, and he who controls the present controls the past. And that's exactly what we're seeing play out. The JFK assassination, from my own research, I'm also of the view is as real as the Ronald Reagan assassination attempt and 7/13 on Trump. And because it's staged in that way, with the Zapruder film coming out more than a decade after the supposed world stage exit of JFK, it can be manufactured in that way. It's artistry. It's how they get away with these very, very subconscious references, and it's deliberate. And it actually takes away, when you understand that perspective, it takes away the mind-blown, synchromistic perspective, where they think, things that happen in the news, they're totally organic and real and not staged or reviewed or even framed as live. That's something people need to consider. Just because it says live in the top left-hand corner, you have no guarantee that that's actually live.
Yep, exactly. Oh, I came across another George Orwell today. Erase a people's past and you control their future. I think this applies right now with the fake news because they are manufacturing a fake past as we go. All these fake events are now part of our shared collective history that we treat as real. So that is how they control our future. They erase our past by occulting it with the false version day by day.
Yeah, and it's, I always try to bring up to people look back at the ancient Romans and go, look at how silly they were. They believed if you were in love, Venus was influencing you. If you were angry, Mars. They were so superstitious and dumb. They had all their pantheon of pagan gods. How silly, how dumb. Those Romans are so dumb. But Elon Musk is going to take us to Mars, by the way.
Right. Yes.
Like people really they don't see that our media machine, our media religion is just as real as what people would be mocking about ancient Romans.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is make Rome great again. That's what we're living through at the moment. And using movies as a predictive model, I think we can, declare certain things. And based on the madness, I'm waiting for Laura Loomer to get it. And have you seen the recent news? She's all over the news as the most hated journalist in America, as a crazy crackpot conspiracy theorist. They're impugning her mental states, and she's being threatened, she says, by the NSA for whatever she's revealing. And in the madness, her corresponding character, Laura Jennings, is killed by her own side, not by the Antifas, for revealing the billionaire's election interference, that she came across that information. And this is all intriguing because Musk is being accused by the left, by the Luigiites, as having stolen the election. And so Laura Loomer is here in love with Trump, and she seems to have some kind of enmity with Musk. So she's probably jealous of him. So I'm wondering here if the story is set here for Laura Loomer to end the same way Laura Jennings did. And they probably are going to do it, in my opinion. So I'm kind of making a prediction here that Loomer's days on the world stage are numbered.
Yeah, and didn't you at her on Twitter? You were like, "Look, it's you in the madness," and stuff. No response, right? Her character.
She blocked me, not on Twitter, not on my account, but I used to message her, and I kept spamming her for the last 2 years with stuff about Q and the connections to this Goldfinch character. I was trying to give her a lead. Well, I tried to contact her the other day, now that she's talking about being threatened, and I was going to say, see, I told you, you're in this Netflix show. And you know what she did? She blocked me from messaging her. It says, you can no longer send messages to this person.
It's a little too much, drawing a parallel too strong. And I think Laura Loomer's character on the world stage is absolutely, as you've described, it's made to mock the research that we're doing, because she crashed the Shakespeare in Central Park, where they played Julius Caesar's role was played by a Donald Trump lookalike as he was stabbed to death, right? And she interrupted it. She walked in on it. And I remember seeing that all the way back then. And I just been like, wow, how can you interrupt that? She called out The Atlantic with certain covers or images that foreshadowed what might happen to Trump. But she's a character, right? So we see these controlled opposition characters all around that are just made to look. Predictive programming as a concept has been ridiculed constantly. There was a fake image that was going around from The Simpsons of Trump in a hearse and stuff. So people are just averse to the idea. And even though it's a reality, it's a verifiable reality.
Yeah, exactly. That's Diana says, not enough room for Laura Loomer and Musk under Trump's desk. That's terrible. But to that point, Laura Loomer is a world stage character, and she's been designed to, I think, again, take this conversation from us and make it look crazy, run it into the ground. And she's pointed out predictive programming in the Atlantic. She interrupted the Trump thing, and the Julius Caesar in the park was definitely Trump, and that was 2017. So she's been a part of the Trump assassination psyop narrative for this long. So there's no way that she's disconnected from all the rest of this body of predictive programming. And that character in that movie is absolutely her. So I'm just saying here that if we're going to use predictive programming as an indicator of what's to come, something's going to go down with her. And lately, one of her enemies, Milo Yiannopoulos, has been making it a point to expose her past issues with mental illness, her dad committing her, she can't own a gun. So if something were to happen, they're going to say, oh yeah, obviously it was going to happen anyway. So they've already set the stage for this. And in the madness, when her character dies, they make it seem like natural causes, just a heart attack or something.
Exactly. So if she's either institutionalized or taken out, then that will be used. We're already being primed for it. And the target audience of the madness were Netflix watchers who uncritically don't know that the creation of Netflix has a lineage to Edward Bernays and Sigmund Freud, and people who don't know about the Obama's influence and that, Leave the World Behind. That people don't think about those kind of things, so they're primed to hear in the news when they find out whatever happens to Laura Loomer, they will accept it because they're not going to consciously look back at a fictional TV show they watched and compare it with fictional news because they think the news is real. They don't think of it as a giant stage play the way we're analyzing it. And Laura Loomer, being a controlled opposition character on the world stage, she offers false explanations as well. Didn't she say the Atlantic is tied to George Soros? This is a threat. This is a threat on Donald Trump, right?
Exactly. And that was all about the $47 and the bullet hole and Alex Soros. And Alex Soros, of course, being married to Uma Abedin, who was, of course, the husband or the wife of Anthony Weiner, who had the laptop thing. So if you look into it, yeah, this is all theater, in my opinion. And she's being given this high profile position for a reason. There's a reason why she's being given this focus. And Loomer is one of these characters who, as you said, nobody's going to question it, and they don't even. They think that these are all coincidences. And predictive programming has been saturated with a lot of wrong information and Simpsons garbage. So I'm always focusing on the real-time concurrent stuff. Like, how is it that this thing happens to Trump and you got like 5 movies that reference it? You've got a cartoon, Batman Caped Crusader, season finale. The guy, Rupert Thorne, gets his ear cut, looks just like Trump. You've got the golden Trump suit guy in Beetlejuice. I mean, it's systemic fakery. It's structural, and we're just pointing it out. And so there's no reason to think Loomer gets away with whatever she's doing now. And she's all over CNN. They're just blasting her. So I think her time is up. So I'm just making a prediction here publicly.
Yeah, sure. And I hope that it gets out so that maybe you can front run it. But as always, no one will ever care. No one will ever listen because you've called out so many things that did end up happening. I always point people back to the madness about how it's like it was released before the Luigi Mangione shooting. It was released before Doge and Elon Musk going full neo-Nazi like the character Rodney Kames and the control of the white supremacists, the Forge in social media. Like it's basically a one-to-one matching released concurrently. And I think I've talked to you about this before. I think the reason why people can't conceptualize the world stage is because they themselves may not have a lot of experience in creating art, right? It's like they don't realize that the creation of the madness, that must have taken at least a year to film and to cast and to storyboard and to shoot and edit and release at the time when it did. So it's all very deliberate. And I argue that the news is just as deliberate, right? And people are like, whoa, now you're going too far. That's crazy. No, it's just very prescient, right? The Madness, Megalopolis, these are just very prescient works of art that just happen to be very on the nose, right?
Yeah, exactly. If you're going to accept the premise that these are all coincidences and you follow through with all the research we've done, then your only conclusion is it's either deliberate or Hollywood writers and producers are prophets of the simulation or God, and they're communicating to us in the zeitgeist in artful forms that are coincidentally aligning with the news. Like, I mean, one thing that I've been focusing on lately is drills. Because you could say, oh, predictive programming is just the universe. It's a glitch in the matrix. But what about the drills? And the best example, London bombing. They had a BBC documentary about it. Then it happens. And while it happens, there's drills going on with the exact scenario in the same tunnels. So there are so many indicators here that everything here is deliberate and faked. And that the people who don't see the big picture, like you said, they can't reconcile this. And that's because they're in the Truman Show.
Yeah, and some examples are a lot more like on the nose than others. And I like to point out that in England, there was a 7/7. That was a big event for them. There was a show called Alias in America. I forgot in the UK, the show was called Spooks. And that show had an episode that directly, a year or so in advance, that had the exact same elements that appeared in that news story. And I actually, on my now defunct or banned, my banned YouTube channel, I had hosted a podcast show where a couple of gentlemen had pointed that out. They had a whole episode on predictive programming, but that's in the UK, right? And if you watch September Clues by Simon Shack, then it'll be over. Then you'll realize all news internationally is synchronized, because 9/11 was a great synchronization of all news across the world. You can see news in September Clues. I believe they even had clips from like Japanese news media, British, BBC media, where they were saying stuff that with foreknowledge. Like at the BBC, they were talking about was it Tower 7 or stuff collapsing while it was still in the background of the reporter and stuff. So things like that. If you watch that, it'll be over, and you'll realize all media internationally is totally synchronized.
You know, this makes me think, and I'm glad you called about this, because what I need to do now, because the skeptics have a point, the people who are, obviously very critical and skeptical of this perspective, but they're looking at predictive programming, which isn't as conclusive as concurrent. And I have so many examples of real-time releases of movies that were made way before that perfectly align with news as it happens. And I have so many examples that I'm just going to have to put them all together in a single ebook. I'll just call it concurrent programming, because this is a paradigm shift from predictive programming, mysterious and spooky. Alex Jones was talking about it yesterday or a few days ago with Tucker Carlson. He called it, there's pre-programming, the lone gunman, X-Files spinoff, predicted 9/11. And I'm like, okay, predictive programming, you're not going to get anywhere. Concurrent programming, you cannot say this is the result of the, quote, collective unconscious. You cannot call it a coincidence. It is so deliberate. It's demonstrably deliberate, and the timing gives it away.
Yeah, and I was months ago when on Joe Rogan, he had said, PSYOP, what's a PSYOP and stuff. I was already like, pack it up, boys, let's go. It's over. And now Alex Jones is talking about predictive programming. They'll provide a guardrailed alternative, and they are made, these characters on the world stage, a part of this world stage system, are deliberate controlled opposition to provide false explanations while simultaneously ridiculing the position. That's why it's like it's the best form of information carpet bombing. You have someone who is providing the goods but giving a false explanation, and also made to look ridiculous. So then if anyone comes across the findings we do at the IPS think tank, they equate it in their mind with a federal operation like InfoWars.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And these false explanations have gone unchallenged for a long time, and we're the only ones challenging it. And I think we are the ones with the right answer. And it's just a matter of time before people figure out that we know what we're talking about. And I think I can speed it up. I just need to put it all in one conclusive ebook, where if you look at this and you look at these 30 examples or more of concurrent programming, you're going to be left having to either accept premise A or premise B. Either you're going to have to be a simulation theorist who believes that Hollywood is connected to the Matrix and they're communicating the zeitgeist through vibes. You're going to have some garbage new age explanation, or you're going to remain baffled. And then there's option B. It's all deliberate, and we've cracked the methodology here. We figured out their process.
Yeah, and the last thing I want to say before I hang up, because we've been talking now for just like JL's call, time just flies, and I want other people. This is Saturday, please call in, guys, keep this conversation going. The last thing I want to say is with JL's work, it's incredible. I think he's like a modern day James Shelby Dower in terms of finding these connections. It's great stuff, but I hope he does hear this. What he is saying, he keeps saying this is biblical. I disagree with him. What it is biblical in the sense that metascriptors, our world stage handlers, use the Bible, but like in Masonry, there are multiple interpretations of a single symbol. I think that's what's happening here. JL is doing excellent work. He's absolutely on point, but rest assured that is absolutely not the true interpretation of Revelation. A beast is never equated to a person. In Daniel's vision, beasts are equated with kingdoms. And, it's great what he's doing, but I also encourage people to, find what the real interpretation is and study the differences, kind of like I don't know if you're a programmer, but in Unix, you can do a diff. You have two text files and you find a diff and you can take it. I like studying how our world stage handlers have completely perverted what is plainly written in the Gospels. And the Gnostic Son Jesus, the Mormon Jesus, the secret society, Phoenix 33 Jesus. I just find it fascinating how a secret to lying is to overemphasize things or provide alternate explanations to little details. That's what liars always do. They hang on to something, make a whole alternate world explanation, and run with that and pretend that's the most important thing.
Yeah, well, you know what? It's syncretism, and what they've done, and this was even the New Age. The whole point of this is to amalgamate all the different belief systems and put it under one system that's compatible, and everybody is somehow worshiping the same thing in their own way. Without, I mean, it's definitely bastardized. You know, nothing is really authentic. It's all been kind of like fit together. It's forced, obviously. It's piecemeal. It's a Frankenstein's monster. It's a bunch of body parts sewn together and animated.
Yeah, but I also see in the chat people say, Christianity is an Abrahamic religion. It's not. MAGA Christianity, right? With you a world stage Christianity, absolutely, yes, that's an Abrahamic religion. But Christianity is not, because Jesus said, "Before Abraham was, I am." People don't even know that Moses wasn't Jewish, Abraham wasn't Jewish, right? No one knows these things. It's even though it's plainly written in the Bible. And the Ten Commandments with Charleston Heston playing Moses, his dramatic pose, parting the Red Seas, and the more recent DreamWorks adaptation, The Prince of Egypt, where Moses is like parting the Red Sea. That's not in the Bible. Like in Exodus, it's actually the parting of the Red Sea happens overnight. And what it is syncretism works best when you go away from the source material, when you rely on statues, paintings, stagecraft. That is how syncretism works. It's basically drawing your attention away from the source, the truth, and then providing an alternate explanation. And really, all the world religions are essentially syncretism of the truth. You can really find this out if you look into the book by Joseph Campbell, The Hero with a Thousand Faces. He himself was not a Christian, and he makes his claims, but you start to find out the similar elements of all world religions are all focused on false explanations of reality. Hinduism has reincarnation, and so I don't want to do this right here. But I just want to throw that out there, right?
Okay, well, no, thanks for putting it out there. I mean, but anyway, we've covered a lot of ground. Great information. Appreciate it as always. And yeah, this phone call just flew by. But by the way, in my archives, when I send them out, I'm putting a transcript. You can download it, but I'm putting a breakdown of the transcript. I'm using AI to do it. I'm like, give me a synopsis, and I'm saying quote the callers and provide bullet points for all the links. So you'll find if you go to the transcripts, it'll mention you. I'll be like, okay, you're the caller, Leo Pirate, and it'll take a quote and it'll put it in there. So just something to look to whenever you get the archives. Just scroll down and see what it brings up.
Those transcript summaries are really cool. Yeah, for sure.
All right, well, thanks for the call, and we'll talk soon. Thanks.
All right, thanks. Bye.
Sean Hammer in the comments says, Anagram of America, AA crime. I think it was Salty Siren who said eye camera, which I thought was rather astute. Eye camera. And when you look at the founding of America, 1776, the dollar bill with the pyramid on the back, the eye, I think the symbolism here is actually relevant, and the esoteric interpretation of the camera as if you think about it, what we're talking about is a worldview, but whose worldview is it? We say history, his story, it's Big Brother, but whose perspective is it? Well, it's we're looking at the world through the viewfinder of the all-seeing eye. And who is that? Well, I think it's Nimrod, the builder of the Tower of Babel, which again, I'm not being strictly biblical, but I'm going off of lore. And it's fascinating when you go into the dollar bill, 1776, and how, if you look at the Masonic calendar, where you add 4,000 years, it would have been 5776, which is the height of the pyramid in inches. But 1776 AL, again, on this Masonic calendar, this biblical lore, they mark that as the year that the Tower of Babel's construction begins. So you've got Tower of Babel construction, 1776 AL, America, 1776 AD. The pyramid connection, obviously, 1776, is written on the bottom of the pyramid. And then you have the One World Trade Tower, which is 1776 feet high. And if you look at the One World Trade Tower, from up close, because from far back it looks like a big syringe, which is significant. You know, syringe, the word derives from the pan pipe, the syrinx. So there's some connection with pan, panic, pandemic, and the big syringe if you look at the code here and the binding of the one world. But the one world trade tower up close, as you get closer, looks like a pyramid with a capstone. And that's, of course, it's in the architecture. It's by design. All right, let's see here. Thanks, everyone, for comments and contributions. We've been live here for about 2.5 hours. Yesterday, we were live for about almost 3 hours. And thanks again to the callers. I'm glad we got a lot of back-to-back. We haven't even touched the notes, which is great, to be honest. So let's see if there's anything here we need to look at just in case. Oh, okay, so tonight, full moon, pink moon. Don't know if that means anything. Pam Bondi walking around in pink. Don't know if these are correlated. We talked about the unsecured penguin caused a helicopter crash in South Africa on 1/19. Remember, secure your penguins, people. The authority said that the lack of secure containment for the penguin was responsible for creating the dangerous situation. I think that's a reference to us. Mr. Satan threatens to kill Trump and Musk. Let's see what else we have here. Yeah, we do have this. This was pointed out by Violet in the chat in the Gilded. Final photo of birthday girl in helicopter cockpit taken minutes before the disaster. Attorney killed in AA crash. This is the one that hit the helicopter. Was on a flight to see her boyfriend on her birthday. So what's with the birthday girls? Don't know, but again, 2 events back to back. A plane crash victim was returning home and she died on her 33rd birthday. Again, hoax code. What's with all these hoax codes? Let's see what else we have here. I put out an article, the DEI hoax and right-wing wokeism. I'll save that for later. Laura Loomer, in all caps. This was just today. She said, this is on CNN. White House fires NSA boss and team after a visit from conspiracy theorist. So Laura Loomer has been called a white supremacist, anti-immigrant, anti-Muslim, Islamophobe, and conspiracy theorist. And she's being talked about on the news quite a bit because of her connection to Trump. Here she's been called Fruit of the Loomer. And this is also interesting too. This is not a coincidence. Conspiracy theorist Laura Loomer took credit for inciting the purge of Trump's National Security Council. Now, what does the purge have to do with Laura Loomer? If you pay attention to the memosphere, she is constantly compared to The Purge, the movie, because of the purge masks, and people suggest that her over-the-top cosmetic surgery makes her look like, well, Jigsaw or The Purge. People who are being mean, obviously. I'm not saying this stuff, but it has been said for years. So you're going to...
Thank you for feeding the Kraken 103. The IPS thanks you for your support and participation. Great show tonight, Tim. Hope to call in next time.
Thank you for feeding the Kraken, P. Trippa. We appreciate your support and participation. And yeah, definitely, if you want to call in, we can call in or you can call in next time. I am going to be live tomorrow, a little earlier than today, because I'm going to go on after with Fakeologist. So tomorrow is going to be a back-to-back. We'll be live, and then we'll take a short break, and then we'll all jump back in for the Fakeologist. It should be interesting. So I'm just bringing up Laura Loomer because anything that's put out there is likely relevant. If it's especially force memed out there into the public consciousness, we shouldn't know who she is, if you think about it. But she is exactly mirroring her counterpart. So when I say predictive programming proxy, I'm talking about entertainment or Netflix counterparts to real world people. Erica Creech says, Penguinati rising. Pink moon about the penguin moon. T-Dog says happy Saturnday. Yep, Saturnday, April 12th, 2025. Less than 2 months away from 6/11. Should be a big deal. Northern Girl, happy you're back. Yeah, thanks. We had a 10 days of darkness. But I used that time to build some bots. And I was alluding to these yesterday, and I'm launching them tonight. Bots, they have a... They're not even bots anymore. A better way of describing them, AI agents. But we're going to be using these to enlarge the conversation, as you'll see. And I'm not going to be too explicit because they are listening at all times. There's so much more to go over. I wanted to talk about this thing where Phoenix Dragon on Twitter posted this. Japanese engineers created a floating water pearl using frequencies and vibrations. With this innovative technology, they showcase the potential of frequencies to manipulate physical matter. And so you have this video of this wall of water droplets suspended in the air. And this man is putting his hands through them and showing how these things are literally floating, and they're doing so through vibrations. So I'm going through comments, and people are talking about Tesla, vibrations, consciousness, secret technology, how you can heal yourself. And, they're getting very new agey about this thing. Because, again, you're looking at a Japanese engineer who's creating floating water droplets. So if you look at the screen here, these water droplets are mysteriously floating. And for 2 hours, he's just playing with the floating water, and he says he's confused.
That's water pearl. There's a basin at the bottom. It pumps water up through hoses at the back, nozzles at the top, create these pearls of water. A specified light system, perfectly calibrated with the motion of the water to create these pearls. They're floating, now suspended, now moving down.
All right, so you have this wall. It's like a waterfall of droplets that are just levitating. So I'm going through the comments. All kinds of cool graphs. We live in a magnetic light universe. Einstein was asked about how it felt to be the smartest man alive, and he said, I don't know. You'll have to ask Nikola Tesla. Here's Tesla. Anyway, I'm going through these comments, and these people are mystified by this stuff. They're going on about how we're transcending, we're entering the 5D reality. Get your book out, The Secret, Manifest Your Best Life. All this crap's coming out. It turns out it's a hoax. They're using a strobe light to create the effect of levitating water. It's a total hoax. But again, a strobe light creating an effect, but the people who see this stuff, who already have a preconceived notion about the universe, this validates them, and so they run with it. Oh, this is evidence for me. So you have to be an auto hoaxer. You have to be a skeptic about everything. This guy is a liar. And the term liar isn't thrown around enough. Would you say he's a truther? Would you say he's an honest person? Or can you excuse this because it's an internet prank? Or it's just a hoax? No, this guy is a liar. And this video has been viewed millions and millions of times. Most people think it's real. Most of the people sharing it are sharing it because they think it's real. And it, again, helps them with their Tesla magnetic light universe stuff. Anyway, I've seen other examples. I saw one of a bird in front of somebody's house levitating without flapping its wings, just floating in space. And people couldn't figure out, how is this bird floating? Is this what they do when we're not watching? Well, no, it's the frame rate of the camera only caught the wings when they were in the up position, not in the down position. Trick photography. So we can't use anything on the screen as just evidence. It's not evidence in and of itself. It's not sufficient. One more thing. The final experiment documentary is about to come out. It looks very well produced. So for those of you who are critical of the final experiment, we're going to get the full video of Jaron and Witsit Spitsit and McToon walking around the Las Vegas sphere pretending like it's Antarctica or we're going to see something else. But whatever it is, it's coming out soon. It's very slick. It looks very well produced. Again, the Final Experiment official trailer just dropped. I don't know if Witsit vapes in this. I don't know if his vape pen is going to be given some kind of an award or any focus. But hopefully we'll have some more information about that soon. Anyway, thanks everyone for the comments and calls. So again, tomorrow we're going to be live with Fakeologists. So just again, a heads up. And if you aren't on my newsletter, go to ips.monster. And that'll take you to my the Substack. And from there we can basically, you'll get your archives and your live stream notifications. All right, so I think we are good to go. I just wanted to also mention the 24/7 live stream is going to be on. So I'll be playing likely the last 4 or 5 live streams. And so I'm going to try to get more caller-driven shows into the live streams. So 24/7, it'll be on one of the backup channels and on Twitter. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a bot into the chat so that it'll interact with those of us who are in Discord and Gilded. Anyway, thanks for hanging out. This is Pope Elon, One-Eyed Jack.
We're all going to die someday. And if you're going to pick some place to die, then why not Mars? Okay. You know, if we're born on Earth, why not die on Mars? Seems like maybe it'd be kind of exciting. But so I think given the choice of dying on Earth or dying on Mars, I'd say, yeah, sure, I'll die on Mars.
Father, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come. Give us each our daily bread and forgive us our sins. For we ourselves forgive everyone who is indebted to us. And lead us not into temptation. Did you drive your car to Mars? Do yourself in space? Hiding behind Tesla's name, afraid the sheep will wake. Will you save us from our sins? Will you help us to begin to build a place we can call home? The Mars colony of our own. Playing a game with all the souls who don't know deception is your name. Oh,
And you can tell it's real because it looks so fake.